Hello? Hello? Did you guys cause a riot while I was gone? Because if you did, that's really based of you, actually. I think that's really sexy if you did. Good for you! Give it up for chat, causing political unrest. You love to see it. I just sort of sat here with popcorn. You know what? That's cool. But as I was saying, if you stayed, thank you. I appreciate you. But if you left, I'm on my way! Okay, so let's go play Skyrim. Let's go play. Cause irreparable property damage. Just how I like it. All right, now we have. Okay, we've won the battle, but we haven't won the war. Cause you know what we have to do now, chat. We have to open Skyrim. Cause you might be thinking, you're like, oh, surely Evie opened Skyrim before she started the stream. No, the fuck I didn't. I was. To be fair, I'm dedicated, okay? I was like, my chat's waiting for me. I can't leave them waiting. But I hear shit now, and that's what matters. Okay, SKSE. Come on, Shadow Wizard Money Gang! Come on! It's so funny because I had an interview for something. I can't tell you what the interview was yet. But it did go well. And they asked me, they were like, so do you have like any like tech issues or anything while you're streaming? And you know what I said? You know what I said? I said, oh, no, I like really rarely encounter scuff, honestly. I usually have time to check everything like an hour before stream, you know. Usually I'm good to go. You know, sometimes I have internet problems, but no, I'm not really scuffed. There's an ad, right as I was telling my story. Disgusting. Okay. Oh! I love when Skyrim starts a beatbox. Tell me when the ad's over. Tell me when the ad's over and I'll start being juicy again. I'll tell you the tea once the ad is over. But now Skyrim's loading, so it like kind of works out. Also, I'm huge. Like, oh my god. Not huge as in like I'm like obese. Well, that's true too. But like my model's huge. Let me move her. But you fuck yeah. Okay. Do you guys want the tea though? Like while we're getting in game? I heard people miss part of the story. Are the ads over? Are the ads over? Okay, let me load. Let me see. We good now? Okay, now it's loud. Holy shit. Okay. It's probably not loud on your end, but it's loud on my end. Okay. Tell me if it is loud on your end though. So basically, I can't tell you like the full tea. But I had an interview for something. And they asked me in the interview, they were like, do you have any tech issues, like with streaming or anything? And I was like, oh no, usually I don't have any issues at all, actually. Usually things go pretty smoothly. I usually come and try to check stuff like an hour before I stream. I don't have any issues like that. So that was a lie. But yeah, so can't tell you what the interview was for, but all I'm gonna say is there might be some big things coming. So, you know, fucking hangst yourself. But yeah, so anyway, now that we're here, now that we've got that sweet, sweet ambient sound, welcome to the stream. Welcome in, Raiders. My name is EB Games. I'm your time traveler stuck in the wrong dimension. I love Skyrim, I love tits, and I'm coming for your ass. So, EB joins the CIA. Yes. I'm gonna be part of the FBI. So anyway, here's the skinny. Oh, Vanitas, thank you so much for the follow. Welcome to the stream. Are you guys hearing alert box, by the way? Because I did not hear an alert. Did you guys hear alert box? Because if not, it's possible that I fucking did something with Streamlabs. Okay, let me go. Okay, so for those of you who weren't on the stream last night, we are playing a Pathfinder campaign that Dave's actually DMing. I'm playing it with some other really, really cool VTubers. But because of that, I had to turn off my alert box because you don't want to be in like the middle of like, especially with my alert sounds, you don't want to be in the middle of like a tense like alert, like, or like a tense battle in fucking D&D. And then you hear out of nowhere, actually, what's a good alert sound for me to test this with? Yeah, you're in a very tense sound and then it's just fucking...
Do you get to the Cloud District very often?
I would kill myself. What's another one? Hold on. I don't want to, I feel like I shouldn't spoil my alerts, but some of them are really funny because I changed some of them. And like, I don't want to be like that guy that's like, I don't know, but like.
You not know that sucking my dick is a serious offense? Fuck you!
Is it working?
This is a test donation for
Is it
$63.
working? Thank you for the posture, Gamer. But yeah, I changed my donation sound. My bit sound is Cloud District. My resub is the PlayStation noise. And then my follow is Yandere Dev saying Gaslight Gatekeep Grandma. So, okay, good to know that that's working now. Anyway, I also, like, fun fact, before this stream started, I took my ADHD medicine and I fucking choked on it. So if that's an indicator of how the night's gonna go, making that threshold 69, true. But anyway, we are playing The Forgotten City, right? And The Forgotten City is oh, Christine, thank you so much for that sub. You now have a PlayStation 2. Congratulations on your PlayStation 2, but thank you so much for your support. So, here's the thing with Forgotten City. If you were not here last Skyrim Sunday, this is a mod where basically we have to figure out the tea. Okay, we have to figure out the skinny of what's going on because there's this thing called the Dwarves Curse. And the Dwarves Curse is like if anyone breaks the law, everyone's gonna die. Right? Not in a fun, sexy way, in a like we all go out in a pit of hellfire way. So maybe a sexy way, depending on what you're into. So someone here is gonna break the law because we're actually time traveling, which is like kind of my thing, right? So we have to go interview everybody and figure out who's the most likely to cause the end of the world. Now here's the thing, is there's a lot of NPCs to keep up with, a lot of stories to keep up with. So last time we took notes. I did not save those notes because I'm a fucking dumbass, but here's what I do remember. Okay, I do remember, let's see, who's like our thing. So, this one. Oh God. Okay, there were two gay people, and one of the gay people was like homophobic, which was like interesting. One of them was ex-Dark Brotherhood. One of them killed a guy, but it was like in self-defense. I don't remember the other guys. I'm gonna be honest, but we still need to talk to some people. So I don't remember a ton. If you weren't here, then you're gonna be learning with me. If you were here, then feel free to remind me of shit, because I don't fucking remember. So this is the guys. Welcome in though, gamers, hello. I had some detours. Girl, me too. We had to restart the stream. It is rare that I have to full on restart my fucking stream. Doesn't someone live here? Where is he? Oh, that's right. We were going around to people's houses during the nighttime and they yelled at us. They were like, oh my God, stop robbing me. And I was like, no, I don't want to do that. Okay, you. Hey. He's the one that's gay, I think. But he's the one that's gay and not homophobic. One of them's gay and homophobic. Yeah, so.
What can I do for you, my friend?
Okay, so, Rikus is the guy that's giving threats to him.
Come back soon.
Let me turn my volume up.
Gatekeep
Squirrel, thank you so much for the
Girl
follow. You know, Gaslight Gatekeep Girl Boss. Congratulations. But he's gay and not homophobic. But then there's this guy that is gay and homophobic. But also, apparently what we're supposed to do is we're supposed to kill a man. We're supposed to kill the person that's homophobic and steal his armor. Because as you'll see, we are currently working on our drip. And we have drip boots, we have drip hand thingies, we have a drip helmet, but we don't have drip armor, right? And when we get all the armor, we're able to go into this fancy place called the Catacombs, I think, and not die from poison. Because there's like poison and shit there. There's like, like radiation, okay? Some Fallout type shit. So we need to go find the homophobe and kill him for his drip. Which really is a 2023 sentence. He's always like lurking around. He just kind of looks like not in like a, like he's not goofy. He's just like, I know this is gonna sound really bad. It's gonna sound even worse like when you consider my IRL job, but like kind of gives me school shooter vibes. I'm gonna be honest. And I need to find where he is because I need to kill him for his drip. So what's gonna happen? Okay, here he is. There he is. Do you see him in the corner? There he is. So here's what's gonna happen, okay? I'm gonna kill him, and that's gonna trigger the Dwarves Law. And then what's gonna happen is the world's gonna end. So I have to escape before the world ends. I don't remember how I'm gonna do that. Gonna be honest, I'm a little nervous about this. And then I need to take his drip, and I need to start the time loop over again. We're doing a lot of funky time travel shit. Where is he? Come here. Come here, I need your drip. Also, I don't have my wives with me. If any of you saw what I posted on TikTok or the last stream, I couldn't bring my wives with me because my wives accidentally shoved someone off a cliff and ended the world. Also, one of them kept getting possessed and their ass was on the screen for like half the time. So they had to sit this one out. So we're gonna use, what do I use? Where's my go-to? Bramble Growth. We'll use that one. Give him the bush. Give him the Severin bush. No one's ready for my bush. Okay, come here, Bo. Come here. Come here. Come here. Come here. See, look at him. Look. Like, just look at him. Come on. Okay, hopefully I don't fuck this up. I'm really hoping I don't fuck this up. Okay, so let's go. Wait.
Not bad.
Why'd that not
What
kill
do
you?
you want?
Huh? About that armor you're wearing.
What about it?
I needed to complete the set.
Not my problem.
I want it.
Oh, well, in that case, you still can't have it. Let me be clear. The only way you'll get this armor is if you peel it from my corpse.
Okay. Give it to me or I'll kill you and take it.
Not going to happen, maggot.
I really thought he was
Because
gonna call
you
me a slur,
know,
I'm gonna be
and
honest.
I know that the first blow that gets landed is going to get us all killed. You're not that stupid.
That's where you're wrong, bucko. All right, looks like I'm gonna need to do some more advanced magic. Here we go.
Bye.
Okay. Bye.
You stupid fool. Look what you've done.
All right. Wait, what the fuck? Wait, whoa, what'd he do? What'd he do? What the fuck was that? What was that? Get up! Get up, Severin! Get up! Get up! Oh, shit. Okay, I need the armor. I need the armor. Where's his body? Where's his body? I need the armor. I need the armor. Fuck. Oh, shit. What happened? What happened? I need... What happened? Where's his dead body? Where's his body? Oh, Mr. Centurion, please be understanding. I just need his body. Oh, fuck. How did I fuck this up? Oh, shit. Okay, where's his corpse? Where'd he go? Where'd he go? Is he dead? Did I not kill him? Oh, motherfucker, not to drop it. Okay, where is he? Did he not die? Ah! So, I don't think I did that correctly. Here's the thing, is Severin has little itty bitty noodle arms. And magic apparently doesn't work on this fucker for some reason. Thank you for the hydrate. So we're gonna need to take a different approach. Did he turn into the robot? I don't think so. Are we still in? Okay, it gave us... No, we're in Markarth now. Okay, I'm just gonna reload the save because I think I did a fucky wucky. I'm gonna be honest. Okay, here's the thing. Only needs of the screen. Listen. Listen. Okay, so he's a big boy. Okay, he's a big lad. So I don't know. Can I pickpocket it off him? I wonder if that's a strat. Well, actually, no, because if they catch you, then you don't get the item, right? Maybe I shouldn't do it in front of this big boy. So I need to kill him and take his armor. But how do I, because that's what David told me to do, is David told me that I just need to kill him and restart the time loop. How do I do that without dying? Where is this guy? Up there, right? Saw dude. Okay, oh boy. Okay, let's see. Maybe a bow would be our best course of action? Do we go all reliable with the stealth archer? No. It did kind of look like he turned into one of the big boys over here. So this is gonna be, does he sleep? Oh, that's a good idea, actually. Okay, let's wait till nighttime and let's find his house, okay? I think maybe if we get him with the big boy axe, with his fucking, while he's going night-night, I think we might be able to get him. The faces of glowing eyes can see you, and there's only one room that is being spied on. Where the this is what, these things? Oh my god, it's a surveillance state. Holy shit. Okay, so let's okay, where do you live? Where do you live? Not there. Okay, I think he lives over here because he lives right across from Vernon, right? And Vernon's house is over here, I think. This is because if I kill him, hi Tony, welcome in gamer. If I kill him with the fucking wait, do they have cameras in their houses? They can't have cameras in their houses. That's illegal. Are the dwarves gonna watch them shit? You can't do that. That's illegal, okay? Although I guess the dwarves don't care about the law if they are the law. Okay, this is his house. Okay. Are you sleeping? Are you asleep? Oh, where the fuck is he? Okay, why is he not sleeping yet? It's like 10 p.m. Go to bed, motherfucker. Go to bed, okay? You have school in the morning. Well, he probably doesn't, because, like, actually, we probably don't want him going to school, if we're being honest. All seeing the eye of God. Pick it off him while he's sleeping? Oh, true. Wait, maybe that is this. Wait, because if we can just pickpocket it off of him while he's sleeping, does he sleep? Yeah, I feel like he doesn't sleep. That's a good point, because he's kind of a weirdo, you know? I'm a creep. Oh, he's going to bed. He's going to bed. Okay, just go to bed. I'm not even here. I'm not even here. Actually, I am not here. Okay. And then. Check this shit out. I am here. Okay, let's go. Do you see me? John Cena, he can't see me. Okay, I'm gonna try doing two things. Okay, first thing I'm gonna try to do is get naked. And if that works, cool. Second thing I'm gonna try to do, if that doesn't work, I'm gonna just murder him, you know? So let's go. Oh, I'm not very stealthy. Do I have like a potion of like invisibility or anything funky like that? Fortify sneak, there we go. Yeah, drink that shit up. Okay, yeah, I was probably, okay, let's try this again, hold on. What if I get naked? Because I'm wearing heavy armor, right? So that means it's easier to detect. So if I'm wearing no armor, then logically speaking, yeah, I think I need to get naked. Is that gonna show my cock? I don't remember. I think I have never knew. Yeah, okay, get naked. Perfect. Perfect, okay. All right, and then do the potion. Okay. Okay, wait, why was his dick out? Is your dick still out? Okay, this is... His dick was out! Wasn't out! And then it... I'm sorry. Wait, this is always... It wasn't out before, okay? Can I just drink my potion in peace? No, I cannot, okay. I'm sorry. Okay, well, it looks like I have no other choice. Actually, let me use like a knife. Jesus Christ. Let me use another arrow that's not as like... Oh, okay. Well, actually, no, I have my bow drawn. This was a bad idea. Oh, okay, no, it worked out. I think he is gonna notice me if I... Jesus, what a sight. Okay, I think... Oh, I can't open the menu, god damn it. Okay, let's just try this. Boop. Okay, he's hefty. Oh, he's hefty. He's hefty. Okay, now that we're in combat though, maybe now I can use my bush. Okay, feel the power of my bush! My bush! Yes, my bush! Oh yeah, okay. If we just spam bush, it'll work. Come on. Traverse it! Traverse it!
I hope it was worth
Fuck
it.
yeah, it was! Okay! Oh wait, fuck, I'm carrying too much. Oh, my dick's out! No, my dick's out! Okay, put your dick away! Put your dick away! Okay. We got this. We do not need the, you know... No. We do not need these. We do not need those. Okay, time is of the essence. People are about to die. Hello, Leo. Welcome to the stream. I killed a man. My cock's out. Now the world's about to end. We don't need this. We don't need this. Oh God, my carry weight. Okay. Shit. Okay, get rid of the big boy. Get rid of the other big boy. Okay, we need to just get rid of a little bit more, and then I can run around. Okay, get rid of the fucking... Why do I have 6 leather? I don't even know how to read. Okay, we have the armor. Okay, follow Metelbus to the lake house. Okay, lake house. We're gonna use the portal, and we're gonna go. Okay, we're gonna go. Okay, we gotta go. Is this the right way? Yes, okay. We gotta go. No. Wait, what the fuck? What's that guy? Wait, is he a vampire? What the fuck? Okay, just keep running. Okay, the world is about to end because I broke the law and I took my dick out. Me taking my dick out wasn't the breaking the law. It was the murder that broke the law. But having my dick out probably doesn't appease the elves. Or maybe it does. Maybe it bought me more time. You never know. Okay, lake house. Okay, we have the armor. Oh, goodbye, honey. Have a good dinner. So you fucked reality. Okay. Wait, what? What? So am I just starting it over again?
You must stop this from happening.
Wait, okay, so hold up. I have the whole set now, okay? We have this. That's a different thing. Where's the helmet? Immaculate. Yeah, we have the whole Immaculate Dwarven armor set. So if I go through that again... Do we start over? Why is your dick out and bigger than mine? I'm sorry, my cock is massive, okay? I'm not trying to make everyone else insecure. That's just, the twalk is unstoppable, okay? The twink cock is just too much. People are hearing this on headphones. Listen, I'll say this once and I'll say it again. I cannot be held legally responsible if you watch my stream without headphones. That's on you. Okay, all right, we did it, okay. We have restarted the timeline. I did the thing. Find a way back to your original timeline. Sure. Okay. Here's what I need to do. I'm going in those fucking catacombs because now I have the whole set. Okay. And now the radiation shit can't get to me. Where did I come from? We had this conversation before, actually.
I've never met you.
What happens if I pick this one? Actually, you're on max volume for me. That's a bold choice. Yes, you're going to offer to escort me to see Jarl Metelbus.
You're right. I was. How could you have possibly known that?
Because I have infinity wrinkles in my brain. I'm a time traveler.
Is that some kind of sorcerer?
Wouldn't you like to know, weather boy?
Well, I don't want any trouble. Let me get out of your way. Let's forget this happened, shall we?
Okay. Alright. Here's what I want to do. I need to talk to him on the floor of the... Well, should I... I thought her tits were out for a second. Okay. Here's what I'm thinking. Do we need to talk to the Jarl first, or should we just go to the catacombs? Because this is... Yeah, we have this already. And for some reason, it wouldn't let me confront Rikus. It says that's not completed. Hi.
Wait, are you wearing... Strange.
Oh.
You're wearing the same armor as me. I mean, it's
sure
exactly the same. Bye.
The way he fucking talks, bro. Okay, but welcome in, everybody. This is a wild fucking stream. Oh, thank you for the hydrate, Blackfire.
But be quick. Domitus could be back any second.
Oh, my tummy fucking hurts. Okay, let's target him, see what happened. Turns into its own separate game called Forgotten City. Yeah, I haven't played it. I've only played this mod once before. Thank you for the posture check. Ugh, limited liability person. True. Okay. I really hope I don't shit my pants this stream. That would be really unfortunate. What has happened since the start of stream? Well, I took my dick out. For starters, I killed a man, and then the world ended, and now I have his armor, but I have the full dwarven set of armor, and we reset the timeline, and now we're gonna go talk to the Jarl, because apparently we need to do that. I am wearing pants now, okay? So, I'm thinking we go talk to the Jarl, and then we'll go into the catacombs, but the game wants me to go talk to the Jarl, so I'm gonna do that, and we're just gonna see what happened. I killed a man with my bush, yes, just, typical Sunday! Typical Sunday in evening games! Okay, where's the steppies? Okay, steppies! Hey, alright, let's go over here, because these are the very tippy top, if I recall correctly. Oh my god, he's panting. We gotta get this man some more stamina. We really do. He is puffing and puffing. Jesus Christ. Okay. This way. Yes, okay. I'm so fucking bad at directions. It's gonna take me a minute to like memorize everything. I still don't know who our lead is for who's gonna cause the thingy. Bro got asthma? He just like me, for real, for real. I saw Misty Sky being installed. Godspeed, gamer. Godspeed. She is a wench that you cannot control, and she will stalk the shit out of you. I have beef with Misty Sky. I really do. Okay. Let's try this again. Okay? Try this again. Are you over here? Yeah, he's right there. Mr. Yarlman! Mr. Yarlman, I've killed you twice. Well, one time wasn't my fault. One time it was my wife's fault, but that doesn't have anything to do with me, okay? Hey.
There's a face I don't recognize.
Can't relate.
Welcome to my city. I'm Jarl Metellus.
With how much she
Tell
shocks
me,
you, I'm
what is
surprised
your
Misty
name?
hasn't shown back up. So, fun fact, Misty actually did manage to show her way back up, cross through the timelines, and we had to fucking disable her. We literally had to disable her because she somehow, even though I dismissed her, even though I went through time travel, she still managed to find me. So we just had to nip that in the bud. I'd love to see you play a standalone Forgotten City game at some point. Ooh, I might have to look into that. That might be a YouTube show. Not sure. I'm
It's
severed.
always here's a key
Okay,
to
here's-
the last vacant chambers.
Yeah, we'll do this
I
again.
sent you here.
Yeah.
Well, it's...
Yeah. Do I have to
this-
do this again?
But that's
I don't know.
odd. So the dwarves' lore is real, after
I think this
all,
is all.
just
Oh.
as we always suspected. But you know who broke
Oh. Shit. I don't know.
Ah, that is
I
a
don't
shame. Well, let's see.
I'm just a little
You
guy.
think you
I'm
could
just
do
a
me a
little dude.
favor?
You wouldn't hurt a little guy. Wait, what?
I need you.
Okay,
you
this thing.
must,
This is
as
all the
you
same.
are.
This is all the
I
same.
ought-
La 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 la
and
la
of
la la
course.
la la la
Now
la la
what
la
you
la.
say? Will you help me?
What happens if you just say no? No, I don't think so. You get past that locked door, you might hate the girl afterwards. Oh, I know. I knew.
Now,
People were talking
you
mad shit
mustn't
about him.
tell
I know that he's
anybody
sussy.
where you're
I
from.
know that he's sussy.
If
Okay,
it-
I don't know.
Goodbye for
Don't
now.
spoil it for me
And
unless I
good
ask you to.
luck.
But
I don't need to tell you what will happen if you fail.
I thought he was just gonna walk off for a second. Okay, so there's a few people that it could be, but I want to do all the investigating. I don't want to blow my load too fast. I want to get done all the fucking clues and shit. It's Blue's Clues, and we're gonna figure this shit out together. Okay, he kind of rich and powerful. Of course he's sussy. Okay, I wasn't gonna say it, but yeah. Welcome in, everybody. So let's go back, and I want to find the catacombs because now we basically have the thing that'll keep us from getting obliterated by the sauce. I don't know what the fuck it is. But it's something down there because that one guy died, right? There was that, oh my god, I don't remember who it was. But we walked up to him, we talked to him once, and then he fucking died. And then we talked to another lady that was like, oh yeah, I've been taking care of him. And we're like, oh yeah, he died. And she's just like, oh, maybe we can make him die again. Do you guys want to kill an old man? I think that'd be fun. Fun little activity. All right, let's go. Blue's Clues is too wholesome of a name. No. I'm very wholesome. I am a say-so idol. I am a very wholesome Hawaii B-tuber. I am. That's a lie. Listen. Actually, I got nothing. Okay, let's head back down here. And let's go to catacombs. See, I can sing. I'm an idol. I just don't do any of the other idol shit. This bottle is still here. God damn it. Okay. Let's get out of here. Listen, I've told you, so some of you that have been here for a few years, so this is coming up on, next month will be my 3-year stream anniversary. I don't know if we're going to do anything special for it, but fun fact, when I first started streaming, I was still in college. I was still in college to be a music teacher, right? And in music, oh, not this again. God damn it. There's a looter coming into the city. You have wonderful eyes. Okay. All right, let's deal with this. And then where does he come from? They come from the portals, right? Isn't that what happens? But we did this once, and I forgot where they came from. They come from here, right? Because that's where the portal is, right? Yeah. Alright, I'm ready. Hold on, I'll tell this story once I kill the looters because I don't want to accidentally end the world again. Okay, well, the last time I did it, I ended the world on purpose. Front door? Where the fuck's the front door? Is that the front door? Isn't that the front door? Yeah, this is the front door. Okay. Hey! Fear the bush! Fear the bush! Fear the bush! Aha!
It's highly overrated. Oh.
Bye. Okay. Ooh, good berry. Okay. Let me go through here, get the rest of them. Okay? Alright, so. This should be fairly easy. But anyway, when I was first started streaming, I was still in college to be a music teacher. And in teachers college, not just music teacher college, but just teachers college in general, they drill into you, like, your social media will be examined thoroughly. Anything you post can and will be held against you. And, like, here's the thing, is, like, obviously I'm a VTuber, right? I show my face now from time to time, but back then I didn't show my face at all. I used a fake name, but I was still very paranoid about, like, parents or employers finding my Twitch, right? And so I was actually, believe it or not, a family-friendly VTuber. I didn't swear. I didn't make any sex jokes. I was completely family-friendly. Okay, welcome in, everyone. No, it's true. Ask, Shoes is in the chat. Shoes has been here for a long time. Shoes will tell you I was a good noodle streamer. Okay, I didn't make any sex jokes. I didn't swear. And look at me now. Yep. So I think part of it, honestly, so fun fact, for those of you who don't know, like, VTuber culture and stuff like that, because I know a lot of people watch me for Skyrim, not necessarily because I'm a VTuber, right? In VTuber culture, when someone, like, quits streaming, they call it graduating, right? And the thing with being a VTuber, because, like, if you're a normal person that's, like, a famous person, people can still find you, right? There's still, like, paparazzi or whatever, and obviously, you know, it's kind of different. But with VTubing, you can just, like, do a graduation stream and you're done. Right? No one's gonna like question you further, right?
Is it over?
All right, we're just gonna, yeah, they're gone.
Oh.
Okay. Blah, 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 blah.
Thank you so much.
Okay, bye.
Nice to talk to you.
Yeah, sure.
See you
So
soon.
basically, I actually ended up getting really burnt out, and I ended up not really enjoying streaming after doing it for like a year, not because I didn't enjoy creating content, but because I felt like I was putting on a mask, and I was, you know? I felt like I wasn't being my authentic self, and it was kind of exhausting, you know? I wanted to go apeshit, you know? So I actually graduated and quit VTubing for a little bit, but then I realized I really love creating content. I just want to be myself while I do it, okay? This isn't family friendly. So that was my thing, and that's the advice I give to anyone who's, like, asked me for content creation advice. With VTubing, I think it's a little bit different because I feel like with VTubing, there's a pressure to play a character since, like, you know, we kind of are characters, right? I'm a fucking anime girl, you know? But the biggest advice I can give to people, VTuber or not, honestly, is just be yourself. And it sounds really corny, but if you're pretending to be someone you're not, which for me was pretending to be a cute, sweet, say-so idol, you're gonna be exhausted. You're not gonna have a fun time, you know? So even if yourself is disgusting, like me, you know, still be yourself. Because I think, honestly, people can notice. Hiatus and re-debut was fire. Yes! Welcome in, procrastinator! Exactly. So, oh, wait, what the fuck is that? Wait, what? I had the magic armor! What is the problem? What is the problem? I had it. What's the issue? I had the armor. I thought if I had the armor, I was good. What? Okay, we're reloading. We're reloading that. But yes, long story short, and again, I do show my face. Yes. I think I had, did I forget to put the gauntlets on? I had gauntlets, I think. Oh, wait. I am missing the gauntlets. Fuck. Okay, let's try that again. I really thought I had them. I thought I was good to go, but no. But yeah, you know, the VTuber talk was too much for the character to handle. That's, honestly, yeah. Yeah, but yeah, I feel like with VTubing, it's definitely, like, in some ways it's easier than regular content creation, but in some ways it's harder, because I feel like with VTubing, it's easier to brand yourself, because you have, like, it's easy to come up with, like, things like a color scheme and an aesthetic and stuff like that, you know? But I feel like in some ways it's harder, because with VTubing, I feel like people don't see you as a real person, and that's part of the reason why I go out of my way to show my face from time to time. I don't do it a lot on stream, just because I'm the type of person where whenever my face is being shown, I'm always like constantly worried. Like I'm constantly like doing this, right? Because I'm always worried about like what I look like, right? Am I showing like a good angle or stuff? I'm way more confident than I was before, but there's still parts of me that I'm kind of insecure about, you know? So I don't mind posting pictures and doing the occasional face cam stream, but a lot of times I only post pictures because it's like I have control over them, you know? So I don't want someone to like catch me at a bad angle or something like that. You know what I mean? There should be an Eevee Funko Pop. Bro, that's like a big... One of my long-term goals as a streamer, honestly, I went to Offkai Expo, which is like a VTuber convention. And so one of the things they had is they had like cardboard cutouts for a bunch of VTubers. That is my goal. That is my goal as a content creator. I want to be big enough so there can be a cardboard cutout of me at a convention that people can take selfies with or some shit, you know? I forget what your face looks like. It's on Twitter. Like, I don't like make an effort to hide it or anything. It's just one of those things where like, I don't mind showing my face and I like showing my face because I like people knowing that I'm a person, you know? And that I'm not like a literal anime girl on the internet. Like there is a person behind me. But also, I feel like it's just one of those things where it's like, I'm more comfortable with the VTuber model, right? When I have my model on, I can focus on just creating good content and not like my face. I need to use my camera. I do on my stream. Oh, interesting. Yeah, that's the thing is everyone has different ways of creating content, you know? There's not necessarily, as long as you're not hurting anyone, there's not really a good way or a bad way to create content. The best way to create content is create content that works for you, you know? So that is my EB wisdom of the day. Now, where the fuck are we going? So we need to find the gauntlets. How the fuck do we do that? So, I wonder if there's a clue, actually, in the catacombs. I should have checked that. I don't think there was. But, like, you know where we have the helmet, we have the... Because we found one of them in the catacombs. Let me level up real quick. Let's do stamina, so he has less asthma. Maybe a little more less asthma. There we go. What if I make content of dodgeball and then I can hear people make... Well, if you have your consent, if you have the consent of the people to do that, like they're okay with playing dodgeball, then I guess that's fine. We're making an Eevee cutout for a future convention, bro. I would literally cry. But yes, if you would like me to show up at your local anime con, email your convention organizer and be like, hey. Bring EB games to your convention. I will do my best to go. It was really being able to be a guest at a convention this summer really felt like I was like achieving one of my like lifelong dreams, you know. It was a very cool experience and I'd love to do it more. So if you have a local convention, they're looking for guests and you want to throw my name out there, go for it. I love to go places. If I can go in person, I'll try my best to. But if not, I'll definitely appear there virtually. But that's the thing is like I use my VTuber model to stream, but if I were to do like meet and greets or stuff like that, I'd probably do them in person. You know? This is the lake house. That's right. So where are the catacombs? Find the gauntlets. I'm wondering if it has something to do with the couple that had their kid die. I'm in Pennsylvania. No famous people live here. I mean, Dave went to college in Pennsylvania, so like there's that, you know. That's gotta count for something, you know. Let's see. I'm wondering... Catacombs is gonna tell us anything. Were you the scammer?
By the 8. I hear you took on a battle.
I don't think that's a scammer. I think he was just annoying.
Next time, come and get me.
Pennsylvania's just watered down Ohio. Well, you guys have Hershey Park. I like Hershey Park. Hershey Park's fun. Pennsylvania, yeah. Only famous is the football players.
Say, you're wearing some of that immaculate dwarven armor. It's every bit as spectacular as they say. Be sure to show it to Brawl, and maybe Gaia.
Maybe that's who I need to talk to next. Brawl and Gaia. I think they were in the capital or whatever, or the Citadel. That's what they call it, the Citadel, right? Let's do that. Okay. But yeah, I honestly, I've talked about this before. I live in Baltimore, so like, if it's a convention in like the DMV area, I'll get my happy ass over. If you want me to be there, I'll get my happy ass over there. A lot was left on for PA. True. Okay, how do I get into the Citadel again? I think Here we go. That's where it is. So let's see if we can talk to his Gaia and Braun. That's who we need to talk to. He said show it to them, so they might have some clues as to where we can find the gauntlets, right? Let's see. We'll go into the Citadel. We'll talk to some of the people roaming about. I don't remember. None of those. I know we read letters about them, but none of those specific names ring a bell to me. You know? So let's see. Even our water sucks ass. I did have to drink like filtered water when I went to visit David in Pennsylvania. I was a Brita bitch. Like,
Is that armor what I think it is?
wait. What about it? Okay, you don't have anything to say. Let's see who's here. Let's. This isn't the way we were supposed to go, but let's see if anyone's in here. I don't think they are, but you know. Tongue of Skyrim. Welcome in, Gamer. I mean, hey, we all need some Skyrim dong in our lives from time to time. Just drink the brown water. Oh my god. Yeah, okay, no one's in here. I don't know why the fuck Miranda's in here. I feel like she doesn't belong here, but that's okay. If it makes her happy, just wander around the tunnels. You do you, girl. You do you, girly pop. Okay, let's see. I'm wondering. Okay, we'll have to go into the main building of the Citadel. That's right, we can go through this way. Gaia, because I know one of the letters we had was like, I think it was either written by or addressed to Gaia. You know, if you're in the Baltimore area, how bad is the traffic? I don't want to give up like what specific part of Baltimore I live in. It really depends on when, honestly. It really depends on when you're going and what direction you're going. Because if you're heading to like the Virginia direction, you're fine. But if you're heading like into the city or like DC, fuck you. You can go fuck yourself. But yeah, it's not that bad. But I will not lie. Honestly, part of the reason why I'm super excited for this coming year to be my last year of public school teaching is because I hate my commute. I'm so like, for the summer, I've been working full time with my music studio. For those of you who don't know, I run a music studio, a vocal studio for VTubers. I teach VTubers how to sing for a living, which is a very fun job. Right now, I teach it like in elementary school part-time, and I teach VTubers in the afternoon the other part-time. But since it's summer, I'm teaching VTubers full-time. And, but that's been the nicest thing about it is like not having a commute. Like, I feel like I'm honestly like not super excited for the school year because it's like, I've been enjoying having the freedom of like working from home so much. And next year is going to be my last year this coming year is going to be my last year in the classroom. So this time next year, I will be full-time teaching VTubers and full-time doing content creation. So you'll get even more EB. You can't get rid of me. So I'm really looking forward to that, but I just know this next year is going to suck. Like, there's light at the end of the tunnel, but it's also going to be like, oh my god. The gauntlets are behind a barred door next to a burnt corpse in the abandoned palace. Oh, wait, is that where... Wait. Was that where we were? Teaching VTubers. I love it, honestly. Here's the thing, right? My degree is in classical music and classical pedagogy. And do I implement those things on a daily basis? Yeah. But a lot of classical music is really elitist for no goddamn reason. And with teaching VTubers, I get to teach music that I normally would never get to teach, right? I get to teach all kinds of stuff from J-pop to opera to like 90s rock, you know? So honestly, even though it sounds kind of silly to a lot of people, I love it. I get to have fun with my students. I get to teach fun music. I don't have to be, like, I'm still professional, but I don't have to like mask, you know what I mean? I can still like be myself around my students. Really nice. More EB? Okay, I think, because I remember the burnt corpse. That wasn't here. No, was it where I went before? No, this is the abandoned, no. Is it? Actually, maybe it is. Hold up. Where is the abandoned palace? Although I guess I could look at my, oh, it's the abandoned palace. Okay, great, fantastic. I don't know why, but my dinner is fucking with my tummy. Usually I don't have tummy issues with dinner, but dinner is just like not happy with me right now. Okay, we're looking for a dead body. I'm sure we'll have no problem finding that dead body. Okay, burnt corpse. It's open. I missed anything? Maybe it's in one of the coffins. David made me this like honey like sriracha chicken, and it was really good. So maybe the spice. It wasn't that spicy though, or it was something like I don't remember what it was, but it was something with honey. It was like some sort of honey chicken, and it was pretty good. But it fucked with my tummy. I low key really have to shit my pants, but I don't want to take a break. I want to figure this shit out. Okay. I have like access to the gate. How do I get access to the gate? Oh yeah, there it is. There it is. There's the gauntlet. How do we get over there though? Me sweet rolls the other day. Listen, if we do another IRL stream, I would love to do another cooking stream and go through the Skyrim cookbook. I think that'd be really. I would be down to do that. I just have to be careful because last time we did a cooking stream, I gave myself food poisoning. I did eat uncooked meat. There's a puzzle involving the coffins. Oh, okay. Let me try that again. Hi, Jacob. Welcome in, gamer. Hope you're having a good day. I'm doing my best. I'm doing my darndest. I don't know why I got really yeet all there for a second, but you know. Okay. Wait, they're like stair steppies. What do you mean seriously? What do you mean? Wait, cause there's. Wait. Not Kay's cooking. Don't remind me of Kay's cooking. See, we had a meat thermometer and then we lost it. I don't remember how we lost it, to be honest. Let's see. Listen, I understand people say like, oh, reaction content is cheap content, but I would love to do a Kay's reaction stream. We'll do it with David, right? Someone who actually knows how to cook. Oh my god. David, do you know Kay's cooking? Maybe we'll take a little detour later. Okay, let me. Okay. We need a little bit more oomph, I guess. Okay.
Oh, yes, I see.
Yeah. What do you think? Okay. I'm parkouring. Let me. I'm too small. Okay. Come on. Okay. All right. There we go. Everybody's so creative. Okay. Are these the eyeballs? Are they staring at me? They're not really glowing, but they do have a presence. Okay, isn't this where the... Yeah, because it's over here. So can I jump on? Because I don't want to take a bunch of fall damage. Oh, shit, God! Oh, okay, well, that wasn't that bad. Anyway. Immune from radiation. Okay, let's grab this. And now we are good to go. So can I... Yeah, I can't do that, but what's over here? You've been playing Skyrim for how long? Over a decade. You'd think I'd have it by now. I do not. I still get lost. Oh, wait. Hey! Wait, no, my bush! Wait, my bush isn't working. My bush is all I have. Okay, solar ray. Praise the sun! Praise the sun! Praise the sun! Thank you for your patronage. Okay, that was fucked up. What was that? Steel war axe? Oh my god. Okay. Do I have... Okay. Call... I can summon Summon Leviathan? Hey, when the fuck did I get these spells? Huh? What the fuck? Storm Thrall. I don't think I have enough magicka for any of these, but, you know, it's good to know. Hound of Hircine. Let's... Actually, can I... Wait, conjure a gremlin? I can conjure myself. Oh, that's so cool. Conjure Magister. Here you go. You got... Here. Oh, I don't have enough. How much magicka do I have? I wish it told me. Oh, you want some rattlesnakes? Yeah. Okay, where are my snakes? Snakes? Wait, it won't let me do snakes. Is there some weird fucky magic shit going on? What's happening? Arm of Vengeance? Witch Bolt? Yeah, because I'm wondering, they're spirits. Or something. They're horrors. Like, Holy Fire. Grant your power attacks to deal... No. Holy Shock? No, this is still for a weapon. Weird. Target dies. 3 raw damage. Okay, so I'm guessing that's like true damage, like League. Hellfire. Targets are 30% weaker to warlock minions. Concentrate ground. Let's try this, and let's try this. We're gonna lean into praising the sun today. We're gonna, like, extra praise the sun today. Okay, hi Nick, welcome in. If you don't have enough mana, you can't. Ooh, interesting. Okay, I would like to praise the sun. Okay, and then. Aha! Wait, that's so cool. Oh, wait, this is so cool! It's a big radius. Oh my god. Wait, that was cool. That was cool. Okay, I know my bush. I'll try re-equipping my bush, but that was cool. I like that. Oh, that's so cool. Oh. Good night. Okay. Interesting. This is weird. I know I'm supposed to go back to the big boy catacombs, but I kind of want to see what the fuck's going on over here. You know, do my bushes work again? I like my bush. Yeah, see, no bush. No bush. That's cringe. I will not stop talking about my bush. It is my God-given right to talk about my bush. Okay, where was the other one? Was it Storm of Vengeance I just used? I don't remember. I already forgot. It was Consecrated Ground. That's what it was. Okay, let's do this. All right. The spell animations are very cool. Bone meal. Meal, and then what? Okay, it's just a dagger. I just wanted to see if there's anything cool about this one. That's just it. Let me go through this. Oh no, that's just a spider web. I thought it was a door for some reason. I don't wear my glasses when I stream usually. Like in real life, I usually don't wear my glasses just because it fucks with my eye tracking. So if I'm ever like, wait, who the fuck are you? Okay, I probably didn't need all that. Wait. Oh my god, ew! Ew! Ah, you're ugly! Don't look at me! He looks like that guy from Guardians of the Galaxy! E for Ender, welcome to the stream. You know, I guess I could keep girl boss. Thank you for the follow. Sorry you had to hear that. Well, welcome in. Okay. Let's see. Don't hate on my boy Drag, because he kind of looks like that dude, though. He does kind of look like the dude. I haven't actually seen Guardians of the Galaxy. I think I've seen the first one. I haven't seen the other Guardians of the Galaxy's movie. But I did ride the ride at Disney World. And I liked the ride at Disney World a lot. The ride at Disney World was cool. Oh. He like, what's he doing? He's like shitting? Why is he like squatting? You're like a burnt corpse. Why do you need to shit? Huh? The fuck? Oh, you talking about Groot? No. What are they doing? All right, let me. Thank you, Jolly. All right. Are you ready to bless up? Bless up! Oh my god! Whoa, wait, did you see her? Did you see? Look at her run! She's a runner, she's a track star. She's gonna run away when it gets hard. I did like 3 different voices there. Oh my god. Okay, this praise the sun takes like no magicka. Do you see that? That takes like nothing, dude. Okay, that was horrifying. The way she just ran at me. Oh my god. Oh! Oh, they're dead. Oh, I thought they were still alive. I was like, what are they doing? They're dead. Interesting. Is there anything over here? Because I know I need to go back in that room, but I want to cover all my bases. Okay, I want to make sure I'm checking everything. Jump scared me. Oh my god, I do like no damage to him. Do I have anything that does like, because I guess he doesn't count as undead, because I know I have a thingy that makes my buffs. Wait, let me look at my restoration. Aura of Thorns. Aster. Let's try this. Because I do more to undead, right? Let's see, does he count as undead? What? It just forced me to alt-tab out my game. I thought it crashed for a second. I was like, no. Okay, let's try that again. Interesting. It only affects restoration spells? Oh, that fucking did him. Okay, that got him good. Again! Fuck! Okay. Alright, well that... Rhodonite? Rhodonite? I barely know. Sorry. Okay. That's an interesting one though. Okay, I've been meaning to mess around with all my new spells, but I just haven't. So this is my show and tell time. Okay. All right, let's see. Oh, I want to check out this room before we go up. See. Is this unlocked? Oh, it is a master lock. Let's try that. That's from Legacy. Interesting. Try this again. Oh fuck. Okay, I'm gonna give it when I get to. I'm at 40. Shit. Let me move my fucking ass. Okay, no, I can't. I have 45 lockpicks. When I get to 40, I'll give up. Nothing? Fuck. Okay. 44. My mouse is like stuck. I have to be very precise. I almost dropped all my fucking dice. Holy shit. I still have my dice on my fucking desk. Okay. Hello? Okay. 43. 42. We're making no progress whatsoever. You love to see it. I give up. Okay. We gave it a try. And that's all that matters. Let's go up here. Or in here, though. What's going on in here? What's going on? Hey! Don't be alive! Okay, that did a good amount of damage. Do it again. Stop! Thank you. Okay, that worked. Wait, stop! Okay, that'll do it. That was not very efficient, but that's okay. We've got the spirit. You know, we've got the spirit. Iron A's done. We'll enjoy again. Oh, that's a big boy. That's a. Ah! Wait, let me cast my spell. Okay, he's going. Oh my god, he's doing so much damage. Okay, I need to fucking heal my ass. Okay, hold up. I need to heal my ass immediately. Bless home is not gonna help me here. Healing. That's what I wanted. Healing. There. Good old healing. Good old healing. Good old healing. Oh, you'll love it. You'll love it. Okay, can I do some damage real quick while he's healing? There we go. There we go. Now we're cooking. Now we're cooking. Okay, I don't have enough magicka. Okay, change to spirit fire. Solar ray. That's the one. Okay, here. Okay, we just got it. Oh boy. Whew. Okay. Kill your ass and get his ass. That's the way we do it. Okay. Right, you were a very large boy, and it kind of freaked me out a little bit. I'm actually gonna save because I don't have the energy to deal with that. Okay, I don't have it in me. Okay. All right, let's go over here. We might take a break in a second because I have to poop. I'm sorry. All right. Let's see. You got anything? A strange energy radiates all around you. That's how I felt when I went to my first party in college. What's this? Dwemer excavation site? We're not doing legacy, so we're not gonna mess with that. Let's see. All I can hope is my parents don't walk in at the wrong time. Oh, Jesus Christ. What's that noise? It's an anime girl on the internet losing her fucking marbles. Go to the water closet. Come here. I thought, bro, I forgot that's what you call a bathroom, and I thought you were like giving me like in-game advice. Like, go to the water closet. Oh shit, let me check my map real quick. What happens if I sit on the... Wait, that... Oh, wait, here's one of the dwarven thingies. I don't know what it says, but, you know, I can't read. I feel like I'm supposed to do something. Like this thing. It says a strange energy radiates all around you. But what does that mean? Like, does that mean anything? Or is it just being like, hey, there's weird vibes here? Like, am I supposed to do anything with that? I don't know, bro. I don't know. Okay. Let's go. I recently learned that's what a bathroom without a bath or shower is called. I did not know. All right, let's go uppies and see what the fuck is going on because I have no idea. Just as a rule of thumb, I don't know what the fuck's going on. I don't. Anything cool in here? No. It's already open. We been here before? I don't think we have. I don't know. Okay. Money. Wait, that's not familiar. Wait. Got plants and shit? Wait, who are these people? Wait, why are you naked? I'll take your necklace though. It looks cute. What? A Narnabus? Who the fuck is Narnabus? Gonna Narnabus all over your face. Sorry. Okay. Oh wait, here's his journal. Okay, we can figure out his deal. These are the last words of I, Narnabus the Great, the most powerful necromancer who ever lived. By tapping into the strange energy when you win energy in this place, I have achieved what no other necromancer in history has ever dreamed. A mass resurrection. Yay! 2,000 corpses, maybe more, brought to life by a single spell. Consider for a moment the raw, terrifying power in that. Okay. Such is my power that my greatest achievement, transcending even my own wildest expectations, has forced me into this corner. You may ask, what kind of a summoner cannot even summon the courage to leap from the balcony in the lake below? Afraid of heights I may be. Ugh, relatable. But you will never find a man calmer in the face of death than I, for it is only in death that I may perform my greatest feat ever, self-resurrection. I can hear my dark beauties coming for me, clamoring on the final locked gate, determined that I may join them on the other side. It's time I join them. Narnabas the Great. P.S. Look behind you. Oh, I don't like that. I don't want to look behind. Okay. Oh, motherfucker! Oh, fuck, I'm still healing! Okay, let's see. What was the thingy I wanted? What was the thing that did all the damage? I like that one. We had Solar Ray. I keep forgetting. Okay, I really need to favorite it. It was Spirit Fire? No. So kind of wait for you to finish reading. Yeah, he really let me take my time with that one. He let me sound it out. It was it Spirit Fire? No, it was it might have been Spirit Storm. There it is. Yeah. Remember? Yeah. This one. Wait, what the fuck? Okay, that's the Spirit Fire. What was the spell I just had? Okay, it's doing something. Yeah, it should drain his health after that. Okay. There we go. We have to drain this all the way. And then it'll start draining his other shit. Oh, shit. Okay. Okay, we are doing damage at least. What was that other spell I had? I forgot already. Okay, it was the... Oh, my God. What was it? It was a destruction spell. That's right. It was Storm of Vengeance, I think. Yeah. Thank you for the... Okay, I don't want that on both hands. I want it... Oh, I have to have it on both hands. Oh, and I don't have enough Magicka. Okay, maybe it wasn't that one. Because I was able to do... That one is like... It was Consecrated Ground. That's right. Okay. All right, here we go. I am consecrating the ground. Just so you know. Fuck you. Okay, we'll get this guy. Just get him out of the way. Oh, fuck. Where'd you go, Narnabas? Narnabas, come back! Where'd you go? I thought you were hanging out. Why is everyone yeeting me? Stop! I'm busy. I think I am. Spirit Fire! Oh, wow, he does... Oh, that does a lot of damage. Okay, Narnabas, are you just gonna take it? That was so anticlimactic. What the fuck? Thank you. While the ad's playing, I am gonna go take my bathroom break real quick. We will be right back. TMI, but I'm gonna tell you anyway. I literally, like, opened the bathroom door, pulled my fucking pants down, and David's like, you got a raid! And I was like, oh shit! Oh, well. No shitting for Evie! Oh, thank God no one heard me say that then. Okay. Welcome in, Raiders! My name is ZB Games. I love women, I have IBS, and I like to play Skyrim. How is your stream, Neabs? Welcome. Welcome. Oh my God. Oh, thank you for the raid, gamer. What'd you play? How was your stream? This is a very, very normal... Oh, you're also playing Skyrim! Oh, this is a very normal stream. I don't joke about shitting my pants ever. That would be disgusting. That would be crazy. Only a silly person would do that. We played Skyrim. Oh, I want to try Enderall again. I remember, I think I tried it like forever ago. But I never finished it. Ooh, do you like it? I have never, dead ass. I kind of want to try it again though. We do not need, like, I'm never gonna use this. I'm never gonna use this. I don't need 2 bows. We're on day 2, but it's so much fun. I might have to try that again then, because I remember like the little bit I played of it, I really liked it. But I don't remember, it was like years ago that I tried it. In fact, I found it actually, I was at a work party with my dad. I was at my dad's work party, and his coworker was telling me about it. I didn't have the heart to tell her. She's like, yeah, so like, how much do you play Skyrim? I'm like, I didn't have the, I'm like, she can't know. She can't know. The special doesn't make the game look better. Ooh, interesting. Okay, are you good? He's not good, but I thought I'd ask. Okay. We just killed a guy who had like a whole journal about dying, and then he was like, look behind you, and then he tried to kill me, which is very rude. Absolutely disgusting. But we are currently playing Forgotten City. We are kind of like going through with it. We're kind of like having a good time with it, but we're trying to figure out what the fuck's up. We still don't know who the guy is, right? Who the person that is causing the end of the world is. For those of you who don't know, Forgotten City is a mod where basically there's this thing called that we have to travel back in time. There's this thing called the Dwarves Law, which says that if anyone commits crime, the world's gonna end. So I killed a man to get his armor, and then I had to reset the timeline. I did it. I did. That's the bit. But now what's happening is we got the full set of armor, because the full set of armor is gonna let us go through this area that's like filled with radiation, and we're gonna be able to find some information. But we had to go through this big abandoned palace to do it. So I think we're gonna try to get out of the abandoned palace now and see if we can figure out what the fuck is up. Personally, I think it's the Jarl, okay? The Jarl susses me out the most. Oh, god damn it. I have to, can I get this one? Please, I don't want to walk all the way back there. Wait. Oh, we got something. We got something. Okay, hold up. I'm so fucking good at video games. Let's go. Okay, so we're gonna go. Oh, that wasn't really that much of a shortcut at all. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. We're gonna go back there. Welcome in, Dolicord. We're gonna go back there, and we're gonna see what's going on in the radiation place. Cause now we have the thingy, but we're good. Lockpicking doesn't break the Dwarves Law as long as you're not. So the Jarl gave us the authority to break and enter. If we need to find information about who was gonna end the world, right? So that's why I'm sussy. That's one of the reasons I'm sussy of the Jarl, honestly, because he was all like, oh yeah, you can break and enter people's homes if you want to. But like, isn't that also a crime? Why do you get to decide? Huh? I didn't want to spoil anything, but I passed up for the heat when I call. I'm sorry, Noah, but welcome in. Welcome back, gamer. But we do have the full armor now, which is cool. Wait, was that it? Oh. 2 for 2. Let's fucking go, boys. Let's go. The bourgeoisie. I do have the full armor. Look, I killed a man for his drip, but I got it. We're cooking. So that's what we're doing now is we're heading back, trying to see an armor of the voice. What's that? But trying to see if we'll be able to, let me just like eat a bunch of food. Let me just eat 11 raw potatoes to free up some inventory space. Thank you. But that's what we're doing now is we're heading back to the thingy. I don't remember the name of it. The thingy with the fucking the sauce, the radiation. We're heading back there, okay? And that's what we're gonna do is we're gonna see what's going on because now we have the full armor set. Okay, it's only a crime if the Dwemer is considered it a crime. Well, what if they're just like super chill? Like, what if it's like they were super chill about it and we just didn't know? Like, they're like, yeah, don't do crime, but like murder was okay. You know what I mean? Will the Dwemers let me kiss the homies? Absolutely. Well, that's actually a plot point. Is there's a gay guy and there's this guy that's homophobic towards him because he's like, he's gonna break the Dwemer's law and get all of us killed. But plot twist, the guy that's homophobic is gay and wants to kiss him on the mouth. So there's that. But you know, I think personally the Dwemer would be very accepting. And if they're not, well, they're not here anymore, so spoilers. Maybe the true sus is the friends we made along the way. Have you completed all the quests? No. But I have, I'm marching to the beat of my own drum. What happens if I go in the water? Okay, nothing. Oh, wait, hold up. Hold up. We need to have a thumbnail moment. Hold on. This is such a thumbnail moment. Hold up. I have to be, let me have my Instagram moment. Hold on. I'm having my Instagram moment. Okay, ready? Ready? And then TFC. Okay, here we go. Instagram moment. That's the thumbnail. That's the thumbnail, chat. That's the thumbnail. So we actually finished the Civil War. We ended up going Imperial, and then we fucked Rika in front of everyone. Because this is immersive and epic, baby. Let's see. Oh God, that shot though. That shot was so good. I love being a little Skyrim photographer. I'm gonna post that in the server later. What do you mean, Tubby? What do you mean? Kitty. Oh. I was like, man's rated me, they called me fat. What the fuck? No. Do radiation last? Okay. What do we still have to do? Where the fuck am I going? I would like to leave. This is where I want to go. Okay, it looks like I'm going in the right direction. So basically, what do we have left to do? We have to drink the elixir. Yeah, we did everything except drink the elixir and explore for a way out. And then we also did, oh, thank you for your posture check. Ugh. These are all, yeah, do we need to talk to Brawl? Like, all of these are, like, the threat things. Like, do we need to talk to, like, it's the optional stuff, you know? Oh, good night, Jingle. Thank you so much for all the clips, gamer. I really appreciate it. It helps me out a lot. But please have a good rest, gamer. But yeah, do we have to do the optional stuff? Or is it, like, I think we're good. Other than, like, talk to Brawl, talk to Expert. Yeah, I don't know. Let me take a sippy. The funny man, the radiation basement, and this is the real problem. Oh boy. Oh boy, not funny radiation. I'm pretty sure optional means optional. Well, I have trust issues, okay? Oh god. Now Schlongs of Skyrim is giving me issues. Godspeed. Godspeed. If you're in the immersive collection server, I think they do have a guide specifically for Schlongs of Skyrim somewhere in there. Because I am also a Schlongs of Skyrim enthusiast. I'm very enthusiastic about Schlongs of my Skyrim. I shouldn't have said that. Here's the thing. Everyone talks about how I constantly, you know, flirt with women. I flirt with men too, okay? Another one! Master, welcome to the stream! Thank you so much for the raid! Oh my god, thank you for all the raids tonight, gamers! Welcome to the stream! What were you playing? Oh my gosh! Hello! Welcome to the stream, gamers! If you are new in town, my name is EB Games. I am your time traveler VTuber stuck in the wrong dimension. I love Skyrim, women, and I will ruin your day. Thank you so much for the follow. Now, Gaslight Keep Girl Boss. We are currently working on the Forgotten City. Which I'm kind of struggling with, but I'm doing my best. You know, we might have died and accidentally ended the world a few times. Damn, thank you so much for the follow. I'm glad you're enjoying this stream. But you know, it's just all in a day's work. So we're gonna see if we can. I just went back down. How do I get? But while we were streaming, if a mod could give him a shout out in chat, I'd appreciate it. Okay, so do I really have to? Because I did get out at one point, but then it like I'd have to yeet myself out. She likes women. I do like women. I like women. I like men. Listen, I am bisexual and polyamorous. I play for every team and yet I still lose. Tell me how that works. I'm just that insufferable. I'm playing F1 2021 doing the story mode. Ooh, okay. Are you enjoying it? Nice. I hope you're having fun with it. I've actually never played. Is that a racing game? I haven't played a ton of racing games. My dad growing up, my dad's a big NASCAR guy. So he had like the whole like fucking VR setup shit. He was gaming. He was really gaming. I still don't know what's going on over here. Cause I like go up there and it says a strange energy radiates all around you. So like, is there like a mythical thing happening or is there just like a ghost tickling my butthole? I don't know what's going on here. So, I've been playing racing games since I was 3. Oh, that's so cool, gamer. But yeah, I haven't played a lot in a while, but I used to do iRacing with my dad. I did sit in the throne and it just opened up like a, wait, what's this? Hold on. The myth of the Dwemer's Law. Wait, hold up. The ghost of the titty twister. I did kill the titty twister. The myth of the Dwarves Law. Okay, let's do, wait, do not take? Why? Can I read it and put it back? Oh boy. Okay, let's see. As per custom, I'll begin by paying my respects to the city's founders, the Dwemer. For their architecture and ingenuity, ubiquitous fonts of light and water, they deserve our admiration. But here I must depart from our custom. For their attempts at lawmaking, oppressive and overreaching, they deserve our contempt. Who among us has not awoken at night in a cold sweat, fearing some sort of accidental transgression of the Dwarves Law? All of us must accept, after even a moment's reflection on human nature, that we are all capable of error, whether from a momentary lapse in judgment brought on by ill temper or a conscious decision based on faulty reason. But I am here today to tell you, friends and neighbors, sorry. Automod held a message for a reason. Misogyny. Dumb bitch fucked around in the whole city. I hope you know on my end, by the way, it says EB Games use add permitted term. Dumb bitch fucked. Okay, let me go back to reading. Okay, where was I? I am here today to tell you, friends and neighbors, that you need not be afraid. For the Dwarves Law is a great deception. I will prove it to you. Let me begin by dismissing each counter-arguments you may raise. First, you may argue that the dwarven inscriptions around the city are evidence of the law, but that is not logically unsound, for we cannot be completely confident that our translations are accurate. With all due respect to our scholars, we believe they say many will suffer for one's mistakes, but what shades of meaning are lost in translation? In any case, even if our translation is accurate, that this message was inscribed does not make it true. Oh, this is some Rosetta Stone bullshit, I see. Second, you may argue that the dwarves would not have committed their warnings to stone if they were not true. To that I say the dwarves' warning may well have been true, thousands of years ago when they built this city. Presumably there were those responsible for enforcing the law, who were vigilant and draconian in their pursuit of order. But the dwarves have long since disappeared. Surely, for the laws to be enforced, there would need to be someone watching over us. I know many of you have felt as if you were being watched. If these golden busts were somehow capable of seeing you. But ask yourself, even if these dwarven the fucking robots were watching you, how could they play the role of judge? Surely no mere machine possesses the reason or judgment necessary to enforce the laws of man. In short, without the instruments of justice, there can be no law. I mean, I do like the mod. It's just, it is very lengthy. Say that. If all the homies down here kissed the city would let us all go. Hell yeah. Third, you may argue that the tragedy that struck this city several years ago is evidence that the Dwarves Law was real. You need not remind me of that. It was I who... Automatons, thank you. It was I who discovered their charred remains. It was I who collected them, placed them in a handcart, wheeled them into the palace, and laid them to rest in the tomb beneath us. I will not soon forget them, and yet I refuse to leap to the conclusion that their deaths were brought on by breaking the Dwarves Law. There's simply no evidence to support that conclusion. Who is to say there was not simply an attack by some demented mage skilled in the art of destruction magic? Oh my god, me? It's not me. But ultimately, these arguments are just that, arguments. After years of living in fear, there's only one way for me to prove to you that the Dwarves' Law is falsehood. Action. Friends, I apologize in advance for this, but one day you will see this moment as a turning point in our people's history. Let us see once and for all, if the Dwarves' Law is real as I strike one of you with my fist. Well, we can see how, that worked out for them. Not great. Yeah, okay. So the Dwarves Law definitely is real. It's not just a bit. Okay. He killed them all. That's the... Listen, he just went to town. Maybe he's One Punch Man. He just wanted to go crazy, okay? Strike you with my fist. Ooh. Maybe everyone was just a little too slutty and that's why everyone died. Okay, how the fuck do I get out of here? It's this way, right? I think I'm going the right way because we gotta go down. Right? No, this isn't the right way. Oh, motherfucker. Okay. This is why backseating's allowed. This is why backseating's encouraged. I don't know where the fuck I'm going. Okay. Is it this way? Yeah. Okay. The door on the left. Door on the left. Door on the left. Door on the left. Dora. Okay. Like your left or my left? That is not a door. Listen, I'm getting there. I'm getting there. Okay, is this a door? No, this is where we just were. It's stupid. If I was Alt F1 or F2 or F3, but F keys brings up the dev menu. I know I have the fucking this thing, but you know, why isn't there you are here? There really should be, honestly. I need help. Like I'm directionally challenged, legitimately. Okay, and then is it here? From the funny book place, go right. Okay, I think that means go up. There was a door next to the ramp down. Am I going down or up? I had to go up. Okay, there you go. Okay, now we're cooking. Now we're cooking. Okay. Just because the map in here is like, it's confusing. Okay, so where the hell am I? Okay, I'm here. You just need to keep going around town. Okay, we're going around town. And we'll just see what happens. Okay? Yeah, 3D map. True! I need visuals, bro. What is this door? What is this? Oh. That's the way out. Okay. Fantastic. Alright. I never said I was the smartest tool in the shed, okay? I'm smart at some things. Directions aren't one of them. Dream on, dream on. How do I leave from? I just yeet myself? Because this leads you back to the abandoned palace, right? Do I need to go through the abandoned palace to get back? Oh, just jump. I mean, listen. I mean, like, I could actually wait. Hold on. Let me just yeet. That was not the answer. That was not the choice. Listen, sometimes you just gotta give it a try. Okay, we're not gonna jump this. Do I go back through the abandoned palace though? Is that what's happening? I think that's what I have to do. It was a answer, but not the answer. I just like, listen, my mental decision making is like a fucking Scantron, and I'm putting C in for every answer. Okay, that is my course of action. I think we have to go through here. There's this big ass gate. Can I open this? Yeah, didn't I open this gate? And I was like, yeehaw! And then we like, no, I didn't open this because this is all the same state. Hold on. Let me do my gamer shit. This goes back down. Don't I have to go like back down and around? Do I really have to just jump? Because there's no fucking way, bro. There's no fucking way I'm gonna make that, okay? You need not open it. Okay. So, do I just jump? Because I remember this. This is where we fought that guy. There, I make human foods now? Okay, well, do I go... Fuck. I'm stupid. Okay. I did fight the ghost and I won. So that's why I'm trying to leave. I'm like, I feel pretty good, you know? Oh, through here. I think this is the same shit. I think this just leads me to the same fucking place, you know? You gotta jump. Okay, well, how do I jump and not die? That's the... So, that's a pretty... Jump. Then, because I know there's one, like, kind of... Oh, wait, there's water. Hold on. Let's give this a good college try. Okay. I don't know if we're gonna make it in the water, but we can try. You know, we can give it a go, because there's, like... I feel like we have a pretty good shot at landing in water. You know, I think we can do it. Eve? Just in case, you know. Yeah. Looking at my angle. Because that rock in the... You do right? Oh, wait. Can I... No, that'll kill me. Whatever. Whee! Oh. God fucking damn it. Okay. Let's try that again. Let's try that. Let's try that again. Let's try that again. Let's try that again. We'll try it again. Okay. Yeah, let's plan C. We're running out of letters. Okay. I think we can make if I'm just not stupid about it. Do you have your mod list on you? I am using the immersive and epic mod collection. So if you type !point mod list in chat, you'll get a link to that. I think I do have a thing though that's like I don't have the fast mode thing. There is a spell I'm looking for that's like fast mode or some shit. But it's not, I think. Let's print. What's the fucking, alt, right? Yeah. Is that far stride? That's what I'm thinking of. Let's go. Here, maybe if I get it like an angle, right? Like I get a little curvature in there. And then we, yeah. Okay, hear me out. I want that wind up, you know what I'm saying? I want the wind up, okay? Okay, hear me out. Right? Huh? Okay, we did it. Oh, I'm so fucking good at video games, gamers. I'm so fucking good at video games. I might die of hypothermia. I don't give a fuck. Okay. Oh, I don't know why I like became Mickey Mouse for a brief second there. Just okay, let's try that. God fucking damn. Radioactive basement time. If you ran all the way to the left, you can jump off near the entrance. Well, I don't need your sass, David. Use your bow and shoot the funny guy. Where's the funny guy? I thought you were dead. Me too, honestly. I did not think I was gonna make that, but here we are. You know, here we are. Oh, Shoes! Thank you so much for the gift sub to Noah. That's very kind of you, gamer. You get a PlayStation 2, Noah. Congratulations. All right, let's do this. Where's the sussy place? The fucking, you know, like the Splash Mountain where they're going to the laughing place. Like, imagine that, but with like, they're going to the sussy place, and then you just like fall 50 feet in the waterfall. Bro, that'd be crazy. Okay, but thank you, I appreciate it. Mickey Mouse speaking the words of the Thune. Okay, where am I going? I've been doing this for a long-ass time, and I still don't know where I am. I came over from, the master base. Oh, welcome in, gamer. We are playing the Forgotten City, and we need to go, we need to go through some funky catacombs, figure out what the fuck is up, because now we have special armor that won't let radiation kill. There's a lot happening. Go to the basement, under the funky door. Okay, let's give this a good. Listen, okay, no. It's I'm trying to find where it is. Okay, Free Spirit Angels, thank you so much for the follow. You are now guest at Geeky Go Boss. Welcome to the stream. You're no longer going in a circle. Yeah, because I'm trying to like. It's over here, right? Yeah. Okay, here we go. Okay. So I think it's over here. But yeah, I played this mod only once before. Okay, this is the only time. There we go. I know where we're going now. Okay, this is the only time I played this mod. I think the last time I played this mod was fucking years ago, so I don't remember shit. But I did kill a man, so you know that I did kill a man to steal his drip. Okay. So let's go over here. But now we have the full set. So now we shouldn't get lost in the sauce. And when I say lost in the sauce, I mean suffocating to death by radiation. So I don't think that should happen now. Okay, we're good. We are immune from the sauce. Okay. So we need the Hat Man. Okay? The Hat Man. Yeah, this is the sauce, right? Okay, we're good. Alright, wait. Corpse. Who is that? Did we hear about that guy? Because there was a guy that went in, but he died outside. Strange energy radiates all around you. Oh boy. Okay. Alright, we found a way to protect ourselves from the radiation. Oh shit. Oh god, that animation looks cool, but what the fuck is this guy? What the fuck is this guy? Hey, back off, buddy. Back off, bucko. Back off. Alright, I need to heal myself. Come on. Praise the sun! Praise the sun! Praise the sun! Praise the sun! Oh my god, he's hefty. Or maybe I'm just using shit spells, but that's okay. Alright, well, that was... Okay. We'll keep going on. He does look like he tastes like a blue raspberry Slurpee. Look, he's like liquid and shit. Oh, give me a straw. Let me slurp that shit up. Let's fucking go, gamers. Hell yeah. Okay, I think you can use your bush now. Can I use bush now? I miss my bush. I love my bush. No, there's still no bush. No bush. Come on, let me use my bush. The ghost things are at max level. They can be... Oh. I guess we'll go back to... what we had before. And this is still bush. I like the bush spell. The bush spell makes me happy. I like the bush. No slurping ghost, Stevie. That's how creepy porn starts. Well, maybe I want creepy porn to start. You don't know my life. You don't know my story. You don't know what I want. All right, you're a mushroom. You're a little Spider-Man. Let's see what's going on here. That's a rock. Okay, let's keep. That's another rock. There's all these blue rocks over here. They're like big ass pop rocks. Oh, there's gold. Okay, cool. We already know she's fucked people on stream, and I'll do it again. What about it? Listen, did I accidentally have gay sex with one of the guards in the middle of the palace? Yes. Would I do it again? Also yes. Okay, sometimes you get arrested and you just need to have gay sex. Okay, that's just, it's called doing what you gotta do. Okay, it's called being resourceful and making the most of your circumstances. You know, sometimes you just need to have gay sex. You know, when was that? It was a while ago, but it was when, no, it was when we streamed with, Candleberg. Yeah. Here you go, Evie. Here's an opportunity to do a stream with the guy that makes the fucking mod pack you play. What do? Gay sex. And I asked him after that, I'm like, did this go the way you thought it would? And he's like, honestly, yeah. And I was like, okay. Alrighty. Good to know. Good to know. Did you have fun? And he was like, oh yeah, it was great. I was like, okay. Did I do a good job showing off your mod pack? He's like, oh yeah, you did great. I'm like, oh. I'm glad that my gay sex was beneficial to your branding, sir. I'll keep it up. I'll keep up the good work. I'll keep having gay sex. You should favorite concert. Oh, thank you. I'm just a little silly, okay? I really like consecrating the ground. That sounds kind of sexual if you don't know what that word means. I'm gonna be honest. Where's my consecration? That's healing. Where'd consecrate go? At least he wasn't disappointed. If he was, I probably would have cried. If he was like, actually, I had a horrible time. You're disgusting. Why did I allow you to promote my mod pack? I'd probably be like, I think I'd probably just shit my pants and cry, honestly. Where was it? Where was it? I forgot it already. Was it in destruction? I think it was. Consecrate. Okay, there we go. All right. Let's see. There's more blue raspberry. Okay. Oh yeah, that's the same thing we saw before. The thing that tickled my butthole. That's the same thing. Remember when it said the strange aura? Yeah. That's like the same thing. There we go. Okay. Gay sex. I mean gay sex. I mean male bonding session. I mean gay sex. Fellas, it's not gay if you have your socks on. First of all. Okay? If you have socks on, you can like do whatever you want, you know? It doesn't count. It's like a double negative. I'm really bad at algebra. So don't quote me on that. But, you know. Okay, let me consecrate the ground real quick. I gotta, let me consecrate. Oh, I'm gonna consecrate all over your mom. Oh, I'm consecrating. I'm consecrating. Oh, I'm gonna consecrate all over your fucking face. I'm sorry. Please don't watch this stream without headphones on, cause I will say things that would kill an old lady. Okay. Goodbye. Ah! Okay. Oh, and then you. There we go. Come here. Oh wait, I'm out of magic. Oh shit. Stop. Is it still taking damage? Okay, it's still taking damage. Let me just down a potion real quick. Let me just take a little sippy. Potion of blood. That's not what I wanted. Okay. Fortify health. I don't think we need a whole. Yeah, give me one of those. Give me one of those. Have you tried doing drugs about it? No, but I will take that into consideration. That was so. Wait, where'd this rat come from? Whoa. There's a skeever up there? Where the fuck did he come from? What's the dog doing? Hello? Okay, well, let's keep going. I'm sure there's gonna be more blue raspberry slushies that will come to kill us. For now, we'll just keep on schmoozing. Oh, there's a little expedition. Hey, that's nice. That's cute. Should I go this way or should I just, like, pop my ass over there? There's, like, an extra blue rock here. Is that, like, special? No. Okay. That's for hobby, yeah. He's looking for cheese. I mean, it's his God-given right, so I respect it. Let's go... Here? Yeah, we're just gonna go to the butthole tickler. I'm gonna call it that until I figure out what it actually is. Oh, you got your butthole tickled so hard you fucking died. Plague on first. Listen! I have bad... I'm not wearing my glasses. I have bad, fucking... What's the word? Depth perception? I think that's the word. I don't know. Okay, well, we're on the butthole tickler, and that didn't do anything. What's this? Oh! Dwarven Dome. Oh, I have to put my glasses on in real life? Bro, I'm gonna look so stupid if I put them on in real life. Like, my tracking's just not... I think I look high whenever I do. Actually, no. With this new camera, my new model, it doesn't look as bad. It's not as sensitive. Actually, this is fine. Oh. That's not... With my old model, I could... What the fuck are you? Hello?
And here you are. I've been waiting for you, Dovahkiin.
Huh?
Of course. To me, you
I already have his hat. He has the
are
same
an
hat as I
opportunity.
do, though.
To begin with, I know you have taken many lives in cold blood.
Should I kill him? Should I stop the dialogue? I want to hear what he has to say, though. I kind of want to know what he has to say. Like you guess.
And I know you have dabbled in petty thievery. Stealing the meager
Oh, you're the guy that
possessions of your
watches
own
everyone.
kind.
Yeah, sorry. Is that all?
I know you have harvested the souls of the Dova.
One of us is gonna have to
Twisting
change.
them
Hear him, kill him after?
an
Okay.
Unnatural weapon against your enemies.
That's not my thing. That just happened, okay? Alright, you got me.
I also
I don't think
know
lying
you
to him
come
is gonna
from
do
the
anything.
future. And why is that? Is your desire for power so great that you would break even the laws of time for it?
I thought it'd be fun. I was
Makes
bored.
no difference. You will not take it from me.
No.
You would not be so foolish.
He's an
as to
last
break
member
my
conservative. He's gonna tell me to pull myself up from my bootstraps or some shit. I'm not interested in your power, bro. I just wanna go to Starbucks.
I see the kind of person you are.
I can negotiate with him? Oh boy.
Is
I'm
the
sure that won't
only
end
thing
poorly for me.
and your kind from descending into chaos.
Why do you want me to take just his hat? Can I take his other, like, clothes and shit?
I mean, my law.
Oh, your law.
I made it because your kind would be incapable of order, of peace without it.
So that would make you. Let's negotiate. You like bussy?
That makes me the arbiter.
Oh, okay.
I'm also the founder.
I don't think I can.
discovered the
I don't think I can
site
peg my way
millennia
out of this one,
ago,
fellas.
Deposit of Ethereum beneath us.
I mean, I'll try, but you know,
laid
I
the
don't think.
foundations, and I watched my children
I don't think my dick can
grow.
even stretch that far. Man's is like levitating or some shit.
Use the Ethereum to create marvels, technological wonders.
Hmm.
But they grew quarrelsome and used their knowledge to create weapons to use against their own kind.
Does the museum
Worse.
require this hat, actually? We're not doing Legacy in this playthrough. I actually have a separate playthrough that I'm streaming on YouTube. That is specifically devoted to 100%ing Legacy. So is that a Legacy thing? I am just curious. Because we're not doing Legacy this time, but I would like to know for
And here I am.
my next play,
millennia
for my
later,
other playthrough on YouTube.
still
Which, by the way,
waiting
sub to me on
to
YouTube.
worthy of this city, and for my patience.
Sorry, that was very cringe. You don't have to sub to me on YouTube. Like, if you don't, it's totally cool. I'm sorry I was cringe.
Dovahkiin.
I will never do it again.
Well,
That was a lie.
why have you traveled through time
Oh,
to
that,
come?
I need to fix that link.
What is
The
it
VODs
you
channel is
see?
the main channel now. I fucked that up. I'll fix that later, but the VODs channel is the main one now. Just because I'm moving everything over, because I hit YouTube Partner on my VODs channel, which was very cool. So thank you to everyone that watches the VODs and shit. But I will fix that. It's time for you to die.
I see you have learned nothing from all this.
Nope. Okay. Oh, shit. Wait. Can I kill him? Wait, hold on. Whoa! Whoa, 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 whoa. What the fuck was that? What the fuck was that? Hold your horses, sir. Hold your horses. Yeah. Oh, fuck. Okay. Oh, this is gonna be... Okay. If I just keep doing that... Okay, I'm gonna need to, like, use all my fucking potions. Hold on. Potion time, potion time, potion time, potion time, potion time, potion time. Okay, fortify health. Let's see. What? Increase size? I don't think a dick big potion's gonna help me. Regenerate magicka? Yes. Let's see. Is there anything else I can use? That's all I got. Okay, any other healing potions? Fortify health. Potion of blood. Vampires heal. I'm not a vampire. I'm gonna need to start healing myself real quick.
Gaslight.
Raptor! Thank you so much for subscribing to my YouTube channel. I appreciate it. Let me do healing. Where's healing?
Gaslight.
Fuck, I don't have healing!
Girl boss.
Nathaniel, thank you so much for the subscriber to my YouTube channel. Now I'm on drugs. It happened. I mean, I do have a bunch of skooma I could shrug, honestly. Let me heal myself real quick. Because I don't think I can... Okay, magicka. Okay. Okay. Do I have resist sparks? No, it doesn't look like it. Okay. Oh, he's almost there. He's almost there. We got him! Oh, fuck yeah. Okay. We had to be a little cheeky. But that's okay. Can I walk over there? I guess I can. All right, we got his helmet. And I'll take your underwear. Fuck you. Okay. All right, let's drop... I don't really need all these books. I'm gonna be honest with you. We're not doing Legacy anymore, so I'm just gonna do this, actually. But yes, I've decided that we're only gonna do Legacy stuff with the YouTube playthrough, just because that's a long form playthrough. And since Skyrim Sunday is usually shorter playthroughs, it doesn't really make sense for me to do Legacy with them. Because when it's a short form playthrough and I'm playing different characters with different arcs, I can't really like complete Legacy or get far enough in it effectively. So the YouTube streams on Friday are specifically for Legacy of the Dragon. There you go. Now you have some reading material for the afterlife. Quest time like okay. So now what do I do? You also have some useless robes. I was gonna sell those later, but I can get rid of them. Let's see. Legacy demands the hat and the full set of immaculate armor and the girl's necklace she gives you at the end. Oh, okay. Let's see. Go back in time again. Do I need to go? Whoa! Wait, did you see my health just like yeet after that? Wait. What happens now? What happens now? This time, talk to the man with the hat. I already talked to him. Lake House to use his portal again. Am I gonna make it in time, even? I don't think I'm gonna fucking make it in time. Oh, boy. This is... okay. Come on, you little asthmatic twink! Run faster! Okay. Should make it. Yeah, we're going uppies. We're going uppies. Okay. He takes forever to reach the damn house, but he does eventually. Okay, interesting. Yeah, I don't know what happens now that he's dead. Because that's the thing, is like, he was the one doing the Dwemer's Law, so did he just like end the world as his final Hail Mary? Oh. Right. We're running. Oh, God, he's so... come on, Severin, you can do it, buddy. You can do it, buddy. Come on. You're almost there, King. You're almost there. Oh my God, it's like he's at the end of running the mile in gym class. Jesus Christ. It's like we're doing the fucking pacer in here. 1, 2, 3. I don't even remember how the fucking pacer goes. Did you guys have to do the pacer in school? Because that was fucking awful. I hated that shit. I always got to like lap 20 or 30 and like tap the fuck out. That was all I could do. I was like, which is weird because I feel like people get less like, oh shit. Can I leave, please? Can I leave? Okay, let's try this again. All right. Oh boy. Okay. We're gonna get our happy ass over there. Excuse me, sir. I need to cheat death. Excuse me, sir. Excuse me, sir. But welcome to the stream, everybody. I'm cheating death. Let's try this again. Okay. Bonk, bonk, bonk. Okay. Do you have a patch for this mod? I'm not sure, honestly. I actually don't know. Okay. Hi. Oh, I can't talk to him. He's just busy ascending, I guess. What? What happens now? This time talk to the man with the hat. Fire, talk to the man with the hat. Okay. Fire, talk to the man with the hat. Okay. Fire, talk to the man with the hat. Okay. Fire, talk to the man with the hat. Okay. Fire, talk to the man with the hat. Okay. Fire, talk to the man with the hat. Okay. Busy ascending, I guess. BRB gonna ascend. Okay, okay.
You must stop this from happening.
My letter.
I don't know.
My letter.
I killed the guy. When I killed the guy. When? What? Okay, so I guess we have to talk to him, because I don't have to kill the...
Where did you come from?
Don't worry about it.
Well, if you don't want to talk to me, at least go and
Like, I don't have to kill the guy again. The big time guy, dwarf guy, whatever. Talk to the Hat Man. I still don't know who the Hat Man is. Like the Hat Man you see when you take too much Benadryl? The dwarf guy? Oh, the guy in the basement Hat Man. Okay. Am I just cucking him? Am I just like going up and being like, ha ha ha, I killed you, get fucked, idiot? Is that what I'm doing? I don't mind cucking a god, but like, I just want to know if that's what we're doing. Okay, we're cucking God. Love it. Okay. You love to see it. All right, I think it's over yonder. Time to cuck God. La 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 la. Also, wear his hat. Oh yeah, that's actually gonna be hilarious. Where is his hat? There we go. Allows the wearer to cast continuous shock spells effortlessly. But the power is blinding or binding? What did it say? Binding. Interesting. Okay. We will flex on him with his own drip. We did that with the homophobic guy, and we'll do it with God too. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a shit. Alright. Let's try that. Okay. Wait, am I still gonna be able to go through the sauce? Am I still... It looks like I'm still okay. Okay, we're good. I wanted to make sure I was good for the sauce. But I think I'm good for the sauce. Okay. Let me get my happy ass down here. Can I just, like, go through... Can I just ascend? Can you just, will I die if I fall here? Okay. I wanted to know if I could skip it, okay? Evie might be Sheogorath in disguise. You don't know. You don't know. You may find out what's behind the locked door by talking to someone from your town if you go back to your time. Interesting. Okay. Only way to find out, shut up. Shut up. Indecisive swings. Why do you respawn here? What? Man. Look at it. He's just like, 'cause I'm a creep. Wait, hold on. Oh, fuck, where's the fuck? 'Cause I'm a creep. I don't fucking remember the chorus. I'm a weirdo. What the hell am I doing here? That's what it's. That's so stupid looking. I love that. Can someone please clip that? God damn it. He just looks so stupid the way he spawned back in. That was so funny. Okay. Alright, let's try that again. I do have the drip on, right? Thank you, shoes. I carry you. Okay, let's go. Let's fucking... I'm a creep. I'm a wee. I don't know why that was so funny to me. It just was. Okay. Alright, we're not gonna yeehaw ourselves to death. Not to... Bro, once I get the long stride spell, it's over for these bitches. I'm gonna be honest. I want that spell so bad. Okay. I can't go down there either. I can parkour that, actually. And we're just... Okay. Cool. Won't you take me to your funky town? Alright. I will say my new model is based off of a Daedric Prince. It is not based off of Sheogorath. I think I've told some of you guys who it is based off of, but if you see the art in the Discord in the Sneak Peeks channel, you'll know. When are the wenches coming back? God, I hope soon. Oh, I forgot I left it with all the bugs. Yeah, we had to dismiss all our wenches because they kept like killing God. What's up?
And here you are. I've been waiting.
You know?
Of course. To me, your
Yeah?
memories are an open tomb.
Yeah?
And what's this?
Oh, I will need to spawn Misty back into
I see
existence.
there's a helmet.
I disabled her because she somehow fucking followed me
Does
here.
not belong to you.
I stole it. It's your helmet. I'm going to take it from you after I kill you.
You kill me?
Yeah.
That is not possible. And yet, I see you speak the truth.
I sure do.
You have come unstuck from your own time.
Uh-huh.
Your
I would like to get
presence
back to my
here
bitches, please.
is unnatural. Well then, Dovahkiin, why have you returned with this grim trophy? Have you come simply to gloat of your foul deed?
Yeah. I want you to put a stop to the dwarves' law.
Do you comprehend what you are asking me to do?
There's a good ending by talking to him and
You are
basically talking him
asking me
down.
To abandon
I like the idea that I can
of
bully
Lord.
him out of
The very
out of
thought
this.
of it grieves me.
I like that.
And yet, you have left me with no choice, have you?
I need a instruction
I
manual to get
agree,
this thing to work. It's wild.
destroy
If you're talking about
my life's
immersive and
work.
epic,
But
I
if
had to read over
refuse,
the instructions
You will destroy
3
me.
times because I kept missing stuff because I
Well
just
played, Dovahkiin.
I'm illiterate.
You will have your
But if you
wish.
if you take the time to fully read it, then you'll be fine. But I'm like one of those bitches that skim read shit, and I sure enough, missed some important steps. So like making sure you have like a new profile and stuff like that, and like a fresh Skyrim save is really important. So you'll stop all this? That's the ADHD.
stop.
Correct.
From this point forward, your
I'm
kind
applying
will
my
be
Mountain
free
Dew
to
Code
live
Red
how they
chapstick.
choose,
Just so
in
you all
whatever
know.
chaos
If you
and
see
squalor
where's
they
out
create
in my
for
mouth, I'm playing on
themselves.
chapstick.
I will destroy
Are you
this
keyboard and
appeal
mousing this?
to ensure
Yes, I
your
am not using a
kind can
controller.
Never exploit it.
I use a controller for Dark
Return
Souls, but that's
to
about
the
it.
world of man, should you wish.
If I found that if I use a
But I
controller, I end up
warn you,
slouching a lot, and then my back
Making
aches.
changes will create a paradox in time. The events that brought you here
You are the
will
stuff.
never have taken place.
Listen, it keeps me from having horrible
What will
back
become
problems.
of you is difficult to predict, but that is the risk you have taken by interfering with the past. Now, are you ready?
Yeah. Okay. I'm ready to get out of here.
Goodbye, Dovahkiin.
Bye. That it? Oh, shit. Oh, okay. Oh, fuck, that's bright. Okay. Hey. Oh, what?
Hey! You startled me there. Wait. I know you.
Don't give me that. Don't arrest me.
You're... No, that can't be right. For a moment there, I thought you were... You know, the one the statue was meant to honor.
You're Altruis? Your sister asked me to find you. Do I get a statue? Oh.
Yes!
We did fuck up
Oh,
the
I
timeline
completely
real
forgot.
bad.
I asked her to wait for me at the top of the lift, and... I guess I got so tired.
Oh yeah,
up
this
in
is the guy that
place
killed
I
himself in
lost
the
track of
beginning.
time.
Well, I'm glad you didn't kill
I'd
yourself.
better head back
Character
up and
growth.
let her know I'm alright. Hey, do you want to come with me? We can chat along the way.
Sure, wanna fuck?
Great. Follow me.
Yay!
Let's run back up, shall we? Don't want to keep my sister waiting any longer.
Gay sex,
So,
gay
you're
sex,
probably
gay
wondering
sex,
what I've
gay
been doing
sex,
down
gay
here.
sex,
I guess it's been, what, a few days?
gay sex.
I'll be honest. I came down here looking for a haul I could unload on the next merchant I met.
You're gonna unload your haul? Oh, that's gay as fuck. Isn't there a game that? Yeah, there is a game for Forgotten City. This is just the Skyrim mod though. Let's talk to this guy. Hi.
Yeah, is there something you want?
How have you been since the Dwarves Law was lifted?
So, you heard about that, did you? Well, I went back to Markarth for a bit, but there's no there for me. So I wound up back here.
Aww.
Still getting used to the new Jarl. But Golvar's
Oh, Golvar's the Jarl now. Good for him.
Working now, which is fair. At least I get a good night's sleep.
Yeah, good for you. Good for you, bro. Good for
And
you.
he wore this spectacular dwarven armor. A lot like the armor you're wearing now.
Is that about me? Is he talking about
Few
me?
people saw him walk into this quarry.
That's me! They're talking about me!
Like it was nothing.
I'm a fucking American Idol! Let's go!
The ground started shaking, and golden statues were collapsing, and inscriptions were crumbling all over the city. All at the same time. And the sun under the ground, which used to light up the entire cavern, bursts into flame and explodes.
Damn!
And strangest of all,
Oh, here's another one.
the cavern roof opens up like the petals of a flower.
How you doing?
Real
Hey, I recognize you. You're the one who ruined this place 7 years ago. I work in a bloody quarry now, thanks to you.
Is that one of the rich people? How you been, buddy?
Came here to gloat, did you? Well, go on. Look at me. Working the mines like a peasant.
Get fucked!
And did you hear Saphira left me at the first chance she got?
Good. Bend over, bitch.
To hear?
Yeah.
Are you happy now?
Yeah.
Get lost. You sicken me.
Yeah, keep digging, idiot. Anyway, let's keep going, bud. Let's keep going. I'm not gonna kill him because I don't feel like it, but I did like that I got to gloat on him. I think it's more satisfying if he works himself to death. I don't want to mercy kill him, okay? Killing him will be a mercy. I want him to suffer, okay? Let's see, is there anyone else we can talk to, minor-wise? Anyone else we can talk to? I'm just gonna... do you still have words to say? Or are you just like cruising? Looks like he's out of words to say, so that's okay. I'm glad that we seemingly got, maybe not the good ending, but it seems like we got a good ending, I'll say that. Oh, hey!
You're the one from the statue.
Oh, it's this guy! How you been?
I've been well, thank you very much.
Good for you.
As a matter of fact, I went back to Solitude to rejoin the Imperial Legion not long after the city opened up.
Oh.
Believe it or not, I completed 3.
This is the good ending. Oh,
But then
yay!
I took an arrow to the...
We did it!
Well, to cut a long story short, they made me retire.
He almost said the
So I
thing.
came back here. Best city in all of Skyrim, if you ask me. Now that bloody dwarf's law is gone. You deserve a medal for what you did.
I would like a medal,
But
please.
this'll have to do.
Oh, good night,
Here,
Master.
take it.
Please have a
small
good
token
rest,
of
and thank you
my
so much for the raid,
appreciation.
gamer.
You'll
I
always
appreciate
be
it.
welcome here.
Shut the fuck up. Alright, let's see what else is going on. Let's see. Hello. Hello. I think that's the rest of the miners. We'll see what's going on after this. After they skedaddle. Let's see. Yeah, cause now it's all new. Will they give me a birthday party? With cake? And hookers? That would be cool. Oh, it's so, wait, it's so pretty now. Wait. Oh, I want to talk to everyone. Hey.
Hello there, friend.
Gulvar! How you been?
Can't complain, my friend.
And Blackjack, yes.
You know, not long after they executed Metellus, turns out he was behind Macy's disappearance.
Oh!
They made me Jarl. Was a bit of a shock, to be honest. But I guess they wanted someone who wasn't at all like Metellus.
Good for you, bro.
Jarl
Good for you.
Still sounds strange to me.
No, you deserve
And
it.
I guess I have you to thank for it. If you hadn't freed
Tellus
us
was a
from
bitch.
Dwarf's law,
Now kill
we might
everyone.
have overthrown Metellus. So, thanks. I
Yeah, no
imagine
problem,
you'll
bro.
be moving on soon, but you'll always be welcome here.
Aww.
You even kept your chambers exactly as you left them.
Since when did I have chambers? I don't remember having chambers, but thank you. Okay. I want to talk to the gays. Did they get together? I want to know if they got together, deadass. I want to know the lore. I don't really care about Yusmar. How are you?
Welcome back.
Oh, wait, that is Yusmar.
You've been gone a long time.
How you been?
Let's see. That was 7 years ago? A lot has changed since then. For the better. I'm married to Gulvar now.
Oh, congratulations!
That's Jarl Gulvar. He still talks about you.
Really?
And how he saw you come out of the old Jarl's lake house.
I did do that.
You gave him a real fright.
You kept her locked.
But he wouldn't show it.
What?
And I would be happy to see
Oh,
you
I
again.
meant that's what you were
You should
talking
go and
about.
say hello if you
That's
haven't already.
fucked up. That's fucked up. Well, good thing he fucking ate shit and died. Yeah, I knew there was something sussy about that guy. Fuck that guy. Fuck that guy. Ugh. Okay. Let's brawl.
Ah, you've returned.
I wanna, where are the gays?
7 years.
I wanna know where the gays are. Hey.
Brought about the end
Wait. Are you wearing?
Yeah, sure.
Better. Now that I know I'm not being watched anymore. Still, someone has to protect.
I just want to know if they got
us.
together. I'm gonna be
That
honest.
Someone is me. So you might have taken down some old dwarves or whatever.
Oh, that's fucked up,
But if
Noah.
you start any trouble
That's
here,
fucked.
you're going to find
I
yourself
knew something was off
toe-to-toe
about him. I knew
with
it.
me.
Okay, well, I want to check in with him. I want to also check in with Vernon. Where's Vernon? I want to talk to him. Where's Vernon? That's the only other person I want to talk to, honestly. I don't really give a shit about anyone else. Miranda. I mean, Miranda was nice, but she's kind of annoying. I'm gonna be real. Rikus. Something's off about who? The Jarl, the guy that was killed. But he was fucking awful. So I'm glad they killed him. Not the guy that's Jarl now, but the other guy. Yeah, where's Vernon? I want to find Vernon. You want Dominus to be his successor and have his daughter? Ah, ew. Yeah, fuck that guy. Fuck that guy. He got what he absolutely got nay-nayed, and he deserved it. The Jarl. I want to find Vernon. Is he? We just did a circle. Maybe he's up in the thingy? I don't know. I kind of want to know what happened. He was getting bullied, and it wasn't nice. Alright, there's that guy. Yeah.
Oh, it's you.
He's such a
I didn't think we'd
sweetheart.
ever see you again.
That's why we tell Dominus to eat shit and die. Okay, maybe I should have killed him. But you know what? Slow death. Slow death. How you been?
Oh, so much better. And thank you for whatever you did down there under the city.
You got canes,
No,
roof axe.
I
You got
didn't want to
canes?
know.
Oh.
Everyone's a bit more
I want some
relaxed,
canes, bro. I want some
including
chicken.
poor old Rikus. He and I are, well, we're seeing each other.
They're gay! Yes!
He's a beautiful man once you
Fuck
get to know
yeah!
him.
Fuck yeah!
Well, it's great to see you again. I know you'll be off.
I'm so happy for them! I'm so happy for them!
Always be welcome here, my friend.
That is literally all I wanted to know, okay?
Come back soon.
Oh my god, that's so cute! I mean, not cute how the Rikus was homophobic at the beginning, but I'm glad that he's no longer gay and homophobic. Now they're just gay. Hooray for gay sex! Yay! Alright! Well, we have... Well, let me see. He was never... Okay, well, he wasn't homophobic, but he was... he had some issues, and he took them out on Vernon for being gay because he was gay, and that was not very nice of him. So, at least you sorted that out. So,
Hey,
okay, I'll talk to you because you're here. I'll talk to you because you're here.
Hey, is that armor what I think it is?
How you been?
Oh, you wouldn't believe what a difference it's made. A beacon I find.
He was gay in denial.
To have another son.
That was me too in
His
5th
name's
grade,
Malik
but I wasn't a
and he's
dick to
6.
people about it.
He's just discovered his love for running.
Aw.
And fortunately, running isn't something Habik and I have to do anymore.
That's nice.
We're safe here. I have no idea what you did to bring an end to the dwarves.
Oh, there's an ad? Oh, that
But
sucks.
whatever it
At least
was,
it's during Miranda's
thank
stuff.
you so much. We'll never forget you.
Thanks, bro. Okay, so let's go. How do I get out of here? Isn't it like here is how I get out? I don't remember, deadass. Forget about the fact that the noble shot your previous son. Oh yeah. Yeah, I guess we just go up here. Add over. Okay, I'm glad it didn't last very long. But yeah, Miranda was basically just saying like, oh my god, thank you. Alright! Well, gamers, we have done it! We have completed the Forgotten City. So, overall, if it's time for an Eevee mod review, I thought it was pretty good. There were some things where I wasn't sure, honestly, what to do, and I had to ask David or I had to ask chat. But I did enjoy it. I enjoyed the story a lot. The writing was really good. I know this mod's won awards for its writing. I thought the characters were really interesting. Honestly, the only complaint I have isn't a complaint to the mod. It's just I'm stupid and don't... It's not a complaint about the mod. I just hate Dwemer Ruins on principle. But that's not the mod's fault. I just don't like them. But overall, I really enjoyed it. So if you're considering downloading this big story mod, I would say highly recommend. It does come with Immersive and Epic. I didn't have to download it separately. But, gamers, I really hope you enjoyed this stream. I think next week we will get our wenches back now that we are done with Forgotten City. Yeah, they're just not fun. They're just really repetitive to me, you know? But I'm not sure what we're gonna do when we come back. Oh, message from the developer. I hope you enjoyed Forgotten City. Oh, that's so sweet. Oh, that's cool. Okay. 50. Oh, they credit everyone. That's so sweet. That's very nice. But yes, so next week we will come back to our wenches. Now you never have to play it again. Yeah, I don't like the aesthetic. I don't like the combat, like the enemies and stuff. I'm just not a fan of them. But wow, that was awesome. So I'm not sure what we're gonna do next week, honestly. I know Clockwork. We might do Clockwork. I don't know. Rumor? I don't know. I do want to keep doing Helgen Reborn, because I think what was happening is we had to do some waiting stuff for Helgen Reborn, and now we're done waiting. What? Huh? Twitch food bars when you go to an ad break? Oh, fuck! I was trying to be nice to my chat, and now there's a bear! Wait, do I have my bush? My bush! Okay, why is my bush broken? My bush is broken. That's very weird. Okay, I'm just gonna walk away for now. We're just gonna. Yeah, why don't you do that? You just hang out over there. You wanted the femboy? You just like me for
Gaslight, geek,
Rex, thank you so much for the
boss.
follow. I'm really glad you enjoyed the stream. Oh my gosh. I forgot, honestly, we had been in there for so long. I forgot how pretty the rest of the collection is. So gamers, thank you so much for hanging out with me. Next week, we will get our fuck squad / harem / girlfriends and wives back. I'm honestly not sure what direction we're gonna go in next for Severance playthrough yet. It's definitely not over. I definitely want to finish Helgen Reborn and some other stuff. But if you enjoyed the stream, I stream, if you're new in town, hi, my name is Evie. I'm a time traveler VTuber who loves Skyrim, but I play other stuff too, so I stream Skyrim every Sunday at 6:30. All my streams are at 6:30. I also stream Dark Souls on Wednesday. We currently have a challenge to play every Dark Souls game and Elden Ring. We are still on Dark Souls 1. I play Dark Souls every Wednesday. Friday, I stream a different Skyrim playthrough, a more long-form Skyrim playthrough, focused on Legacy of the Dragonborn on Fridays over on YouTube. And then on Saturday, we either play Pathfinder 2nd Edition, or me and David are currently couch co-oping Fallout New Vegas together. So here is my Discord if you want to keep up with me, my happenings, all that jazz. We're hoping to do another Discord event soon. Currently, we've been watching The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City with my community with alcohol. I also have a YouTube channel. This is the YouTube channel where I stream. I need to fix the command, but, you know, we'll get there. But here's also my other stuff. Yes, we play Pathfinder 2nd Edition. In fact, the first episode of the campaign was just uploaded to YouTube yesterday, so there's still time to get caught up. We play that bi-weekly, and on the weeks that we aren't playing Pathfinder, we literally just started, so now's like a good time to get caught up. On the weeks that we aren't playing Pathfinder, we play Fallout New Vegas, which that's another playthrough you can kind of get caught up with. But also, here's my other miscellaneous social media and all that jazz. So, gamers, thank you so much for hanging out with me. Have a fantastic week. Let's see who's live right now and who can raid. We'll raid. Oh, River's streaming. Since we're talking about tabletop RPGs, we will go raid River. He is playing Cyberpunk Red, so he's running a campaign. Goodbye, gamers. Let me make sure I spell his name right. He's another VTuber focused on tabletop RPGs. What's our raid message gonna be? I don't know. What do you guys want our raid message to be? Should we be sussy or should we be normal? I kind of want to be sussy. Can we be sussy? Let's be sussy. Let's do, can we just do sussy raid? Sussy EB raid. I think that'll be fun. Sussy EB raid. And we'll use the, autism creature. Whatever emotes. You know, actually use the gun emote if you have it. There's your little message that you can copy paste into the chat. And gamers, please give River the same love and affection that you would give me. Keep in mind he is doing a tabletop game, so he may not be super responsive to chat, but I think you will enjoy it nonetheless. All right, gamers, I will catch you on the flip side. Bye bye.